How's it going, guys? This is Ideas of Ice and Fire. So I just got wind of this and I thought I'd make this quick video to talk about it. So according to Hollywood Reporter, HBO has ordered the first Game of Thrones prequel pilot, and this will be set during the time of the Age of Heroes, and it will descend into the long night. Now the showrunner of the show is Jane Goldman, who I haven't heard of, but I'm sure she's fine. But last year, George R. R. Martin was on his blog, was talking about them working on 5 different pilots, and so it looks like they picked up the first one, and no doubt there will be more. So this is very interesting. If you don't know about the Age of Heroes, so basically let me show you what the timeline is like. So it starts off with the Children of the Forest are living in Westeros. Mankind comes across the Arm of Dorne, and they war with the Children of the Forest for about 1,000 years. And then they make a pact, and then there's the Age of Heroes, which lasts approximately 2,000 years, right? And then sometime during the Age of Heroes, the others came for the first time, and that started the long night. So we will get White Walkers in this, apparently. So it's interesting to see where they'll go. I figure this will probably focus more on the intrigue and stuff, because the Age of Heroes in A Song of Ice and Fire is very romanticized, like it was all good, but really just look at everything, like it's a legend, it's a myth. It can't possibly be all good. I'm sure everything was just as screwed up as it is in the Game of Thrones time, in the Song of Ice and Fire modern time, so to speak. So no doubt we'll get some betrayals, we'll get like a lot of blood and violence and gore. We'll see all that probably. I'm basically expecting Game of Thrones 2 here. So it's exciting. I'm not sure to what extent George R. R. Martin will actually be working on the show, because I know he needs to focus on the Winds of Winter and getting all that stuff out. But he did work rather closely on the pilot, I believe, because he worked with all 5 of the scripts that they were considering. And this probably won't be the only one. They're definitely going to do at least one other show. So it's very exciting to see where this will lead. Now, I see why they chose the Age of Heroes, because there's a lot of interesting stories that you can tell about the Age of Heroes. It might break some of our conceptions of what these heroes are really like. So I'm just going to read what the article says right here. Set thousands of years before the events of Thrones, the project chronicles the world's descent from the golden age of heroes into its darkest hour, and we all know what that is, the long night when the others came for the first time. A log line from the network teased the plot without divulging any specifics. Only one thing is for sure. From the horrifying secrets of Westeros' history, to the origin of the White Walkers, the mysteries of the East, to the Starks of legend, it's not the story we think we know. So yeah, that's kind of the idea that I had in mind, that it's going to really break our conceptions of what really went on in the past. And it says here, interestingly enough, the origin of the White Walkers. I mean, the show has kind of already given us the origin of the White Walkers, haven't they? Because they've shown us that the Children of the Forest, in fact, created the White Walkers. So I wonder what's going on here. Because Game of Thrones definitely revealed that in Season 6, I believe, when we see the Child of the Forest Leaf in Bran's vision sticking the dagger into the guy's heart and creating the first White Walker. Or maybe that's not really what we think it is, because it does say it's not the story we think we know. I am very happy that George R. R. Martin is at least involved in the conception of this. Because, you know, it'll be rooted in the actual lore of the book. So if you're not a book reader, I would suggest, if you want to prepare for this show, pick up The World of Ice and Fire. It's a huge lore book that came out a couple years ago, written by George R. R. Martin and 2 other people, and it's a gorgeous book full of gorgeous art, and you can learn all about the Age of Heroes, at least a certain version of history, because that's the thing. In The World of Ice and Fire, you're getting the Maester version of history. So this show will be telling us what really happened, and I'm very excited. But then again, I was very excited for Game of Thrones, and then you guys know how I felt about it later on. But still, I'm not going to let this down me. I'm very excited for this show. I can't wait to see what they do with it. Jane Goldman, I'm not familiar with any of your other work, but I hope that you do a good job with this. I hope that George R. R. Martin watches it closely, and we'll see what it's like. We knew this was going to happen anyways. I'm not sure exactly how the rights work with Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire. I know that George R. R. Martin gave them the rights to adapt A Song of Ice and Fire. So he did sign off on this, but I wonder if they could have done this without him legally, because it is his property that he owns. But I'm glad that they just went ahead and got him to do it, and he signed off of it, Because if they had just made this show without his consent, then I wouldn't feel as... I'd be a little bit more apprehensive. And I still am very apprehensive. I hope this show doesn't go downhill like halfway through. I hope... My idea is that I think they shouldn't do it like Game of Thrones. I think they should do maybe like 6 episodes a season, and then maybe 3 or 4 seasons max. Don't stretch it out. Don't... Game of Thrones is a cash cow. They want to milk Game of Thrones forever and ever and ever. If HBO can, they will make one of these shows every fucking 5 years. They will do it. So, let it be good. So, George R. Martin, work with them. Let it be good. And still don't put too much of your time into this. Please work on The Winds of Winter. We all want you to finish it. No rush. Do what you want. But I'm just saying, don't spend all of your time working on this. I know you're not watching this video, but whatever. I've already seen 1 or 2 people being like, oh man, this is before the time of the Targaryens, so no dragons. Bollocks. Absolute bollocks. There are dragon skulls in Westeros. We'll definitely get dragons in this. We'll get White Walkers. We'll get dragons. We're getting all of it. Like, the Targaryen dragons were not the first dragons. And that's very clear once you dive a little bit deep into the lore. So we will have dragons. We'll have, hopefully, a lot of more fantasy elements. Hopefully from the very beginning. Because that was always my big thing about Game of Thrones. I always felt like they always dialed the magic a step back. And so with this new showrunner, I'm interested to see how another person can interpret this world and this universe. I'm very curious to see a different take that's not D&D. That's not those guys. I know I said in the beginning of this that this will likely be just Game of Thrones 2. And I think it will probably be that, because I think HBO will be like, we don't want to change this formula too much because it's worked. Game of Thrones is the most successful television show pretty much of all time. So it's like they don't want to change that formula too much. But me as a fan, I would hope that they move more towards in the direction that the books take, where it's kind of like more fantastical and more fantasy. But we will see. We can still have the intrigue and all these great characters and all of that. But I would like to see a little bit more fantasy. Now, characters will be interesting too, because these are characters that these are not characters that exist in the book. Like, we have names from legends, but we don't know these people like we know them from the book. So these will be all new characters, really. And that's one thing that I'm most excited for. Hopefully they can develop really interesting characters. And hopefully, my fear would be that this show is an exact copy of Game of Thrones, where they literally take the same character archetypes and just create the same characters again. We don't need another Tyrion. We don't need another Cersei. We don't need another Daenerys. We don't need another Jon Snow. We need new characters that can be interesting on their own. So I think the biggest mistake that they could make would be to try to create an exact clone of Game of Thrones. Please don't do that. So we're definitely getting some Stark stuff too, 100%. Winterfell is the oldest castle in Westeros. The others came approximately 8,000 years ago. So yeah, we'll definitely see the Starks. We'll probably see a more primitive version of Winterfell, which I'm very interested in seeing what Winterfell looked like in the beginning. Maybe we'll even get the Children of the Forest, because this is so long ago that the Children of the Forest were still running around at this point in time. They were still doing stuff. I mean, they retreated pretty far away, but they're still running around and doing stuff in this time. So maybe they'll be a little bit more present. We'll maybe get to learn a little bit more about them and their culture, because one thing that I was so disappointed by in Game of Thrones is how quickly the Children of the Forest got in and out. They introduced them at the end of season 5. They killed them like 4 episodes into season 6, and I was very disappointed by that. So I'd like to see more with the children, even the giants perhaps. I know the giants were pretty much almost gone by this time as well. Well, surely there are probably more of them at this time than there are in the modern Game of Thrones times, but we'll see exactly how that works out. But I want giants, I want magic, I want sorceresses, I want the children, I want all of those things. And just hearing about this show has gotten me excited all over again. I haven't felt this excited since Game of Thrones was announced way back when. And yeah, I'm just kind of over the moon, and I'm anxious, but I'm waiting to see what they do. And I know you guys are probably excited too. So leave your comments, what you think about this, down in the description. Not down in the description, down in the comment section below. Leave your comments. Tell me what you think about all of this. And definitely when the show comes out, I'll probably review it. And if I hate it, I'll hate it. If I like it, I'll like it. You guys know you'll get an honest opinion from me. So, and we'll get back to our normal video schedule pretty soon. I might as well go and announce and tell you guys what I have coming up. So I've got Ultimate Guide to Dune, Part 4 coming out this month. So that's very exciting. I've got a King Killer Chronicles video going up, and I've got a podcast on Lovecraft. on the Lovecraft stuff in A Song of Ice and Fire, and there's a lot of it, so we're finally dedicating an entire podcast to all of the Lovecraft references in A Song of Ice and Fire. And the bookmarks are shipping soon as I get back to my home state. I am still in Texas, so as soon as I get back to my home state, the Patreon bookmarks will ship, and that'll be great, and everything will be fine. So, like this video, support me on Patreon, subscribe if you like this channel. Peace out, guys. Thanks for listening.